What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be on the cornerstone of Reformed iconoclasm, which is the civil versus religious distinction. So basically, this distinction is their response to when a Catholic or an Orthodox, they go and they say, well, we're told in the Bible to bow down before kings, so obviously bowing down isn't idolatry. And then the Reformed, they say, well, there's two different types of bowing down. There's bowing down civilly and religiously. And they say bowing down before a king is civil, but bowing down before an icon is religious. Therefore, religious veneration is idolatry, but civil veneration is not idolatry. So I'm going to critique this heavily. So what is the distinction? So to honor a king is civil honor. To honor a saint is religious honor. To honor a king's image is civil, and to honor a saint's image is religious. Okay, and I think particularly the bottom two is completely arbitrary, as I'll demonstrate, hopefully. So we have William Perkins, on the work called On Idolatry in the Later Times. I'll read it all. Adoration or worship is either divine or civil. The bowing of the knee or the prostration of the body is one and the same in both, and the cause of bowing makes the difference. Why is it in the divine adoration when we bow the body upon the divine cause properly concerning God, and thus God alone is to be adored? Civil adoration is upon civil cause when we bow to men either because they are in government or because they are endued with excellent gifts and graces of God. Upon this ground, I answer that kings and princes are worshipped only with civil, not with divine adoration, whereas angels and saints are worshipped in the Roman Church with divine adoration. So, one thing that makes no sense to me is absolutely nobody thinks they worship saints with divine adoration as if they're God, because he literally says over here that civil honor is when you honor them because they are endowed with excellent gifts and graces of God. And that is particularly why they honor the saints, because they are endowed with excellent graces and gifts of God. So by definition, the honor of the saints' images is civil adoration, but whatever. Okay. So to make it more precise as well, we have mental versus physical honor. So physical honor is an expression of your mental honor for an individual or something, or an object. For example, if you physically commit idolatry, you are probably already intellectually committing idolatry. So my point is, okay, I can honor a king a lot in my head, yeah. So I honor him intellectually. I'm gonna call it mental honor. I'm mentally honoring him. But then if I see him in person, and like they did in the Old Testament, I bow down before him, I'm then showing physical honor, yeah. But my physical honor is just an expression of my mental honor, because someone who doesn't really honor him that much is not going to want to bow down, is not going to want to show expression. So necessarily they are linked. Your physical honor and mental honor is way more important, because as I said, if you show physical idolatry, you are already committing intellectual idolatry. Okay. And also physical honor. What is physical honor? Any physical honor by definition is anything physical. So bowing down, as Perkins said, and like placing a knee, or kissing, not placing something on top, for example, I think it's physically honoring your Bible when you don't place something on top, or you place it down gently. And also standing up straight before it or before something. So if I'm in the army and I stand up with a posture like this, and I'm going like this, bro, that's physical honor. I'm honoring the person. Okay, objection. And I'm gonna argue these are all in the same category, maybe except for bowing down. But I'll show. Kissing and bowing down obviously expresses more honor than standing up straight or not placing something on top. My answer to this is by whose standard? In different countries, kissing is a normal greeting. Then who decides what is more or less? For example, in Japan, is it not customary to bow down before people? Yeah, to perform a bow, and even in case of deep respect, there's a full prostration where you're going 90 degrees before somebody, you know. That is showing immense physical honor. But for us, if I did that to somebody, it'd actually be like I think they are my god because I live in a Western country. But for them, it's normal, you know. So by whose standard is what physical honor is showing more honor than others? So the primary honor that dictates idolatry or not is the mental honor, not the physical honor. So obviously, two people can be performing the same act of physical honor, but one person can be performing it because they think the object of veneration has divine essence, possesses divine essence, but the other one can just be doing it as a sign of mere respect. So obviously the idolatry comes from the mind, not just the physical action. If one disrespects somebody but performs sarcastic physical honor, it is not idolatry. Another example: two people can be bowing down. For example, two people can be bowing down. One person's bowing down because they think the inanimate object is God. That is idolatry. But the other person could be bowing down as a sign of disrespect, as sarcasm, you know, like bowing down, trying to imitate others in sarcasm and, you know, mockery. That is not idolatry because their mental honor, they don't care about it. Their physical honor is not an expression of their mental honor in that case. Okay, or it is a sign of their disposition, which would be negative. They would be mocking it, you know. And so now, here's the classification. The objection I have against civil is, how do you decide whether something is civil worship or religious worship? And this is the assumption I'm going off. Assuming the worship of a king or honoring of a parent is civil, but the worshipping of a priest or honoring of an elder is religious worship. Or not so much elder. I meant to say of a saint's image. So worship of a saint or a priest, because priests can be saints. And I guess not while they're alive, but worship of a priest or honoring of a saint's image. Yeah. Okay. So the position. Honoring of a parent's image is not idolatry because it's civil. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all Reformed would say this. If you honor a parent's image, it is not idolatry. But if you honor the image of Christ or a saint, it is idolatry because it is religious. You know, I guess the people who take this stance would be, maybe some people can say that you reject all veneration of any image. And as I said, the physical veneration would just be an expression of your mental veneration. So then you can't even mentally venerate the image of a parent because for some reason the physical veneration is idolatry when the mental veneration isn't, which makes no sense. So only physical veneration is only idolatrous if the mental veneration is idolatrous as well. So then you can't even mentally honor the image of a parent, and you can't mentally honor the image of a saint either. And so I'm going to question how, like, this makes no sense, absolutely no sense. So what makes the honor distinct? Because there's obviously a distinction between religious honor and civil honor. What makes it distinct? Is the difference in the mode of honor, so the way you're honoring? If one mode is religious, the other is civil. And if I honor a saint with the same type of honor, it is not idolatry. So this is So you have religious honor and civil honor. So two modes of honor. If this is religious, this is civil. If I'm honoring my parents with civil honor, how about I honor saints with civil honor? Then by definition, it's not idolatry. Yeah, according to Perkins, William Perkins. Okay, so is the distinction in the object of honor? So is the real distinction in how exactly in the object that I'm honoring? So is a way to classify civil or the object of honor. So if the subject is religious, it is religious honor. But if the subject is civil, it's civil honor. Is that the question? But what if your mother is religious? then she's a religious person. Are you committing idolatry by honoring her image? Because she is now religious. Or, for example, a saint such as Saint Constantine, who was an emperor and a saint. What is honoring his image? Is it civil, or is it religious, or is it both? It's both, so it's idolatry and not idolatry. It has to be one. So what is it like? If your friend is religious and you honor his image when he's deceased, is it idolatry? So are you by definition saying that saints have some ontological superiority than deceased religious people? And I thought that's the not the doctrine that all saints are the same before God. So is it the aspect of the object? If I honor Saint Constantine because he was a king, wait, did I skip a slide? No. So is it the aspect of the honor? Maybe some aspect of it. So if I honor Saint Constantine because he was a king, it's civil. But if I honor him because of his religious actions, then it's idolatrous. Is that the position? Well, then if I honored my parents' image, so my parents in their image, for any religious action, is it then idolatry as well? So like if I honor somebody in an image, I honor an image, but I'm honoring them because of a religious action they did, then it's idolatry as well. Then like Gregory of Nyssa is an idolater because in one of his writings, one of his short writings, he says that he was brought to tears looking at the painting of Abraham sacrificing Isaac. That's a religious painting. That's a religious action. He's idolatrous for honoring it, for crying before it, respecting it. He's an idolater. Wouldn't say so. Is the distinction blood relation? So do you have to be related to the person for it to be civil? Well, obviously not, because honoring a king's image is not civil, but it's religious. And any adopted person is not civil but religious because they're not blood related. And anyway, it's an absurd distinction for civil versus religious blood relation. Is it the disposition? Is it because our mother's a mother, but those venerating images of saints believe the saint is a deity? So is it what's happening in your mind? Your mother is just a human who gave birth to you, but the saints are like a deity. And first of all, this assumes, because you say icon veneration is idolatry, this assumes when all people venerate the icon, everybody in their mind thinks that the saints are a deity. So it's not you're not more so condemning icon veneration because it's possible for someone to venerate an icon and not have an idolatrous disposition. So yeah, if I have a correct disposition and merely see the saints as sinners saved by God's grace and have the privilege of being with God, obviously they're sinless in their state right now with God, but when they were on earth, most saints sinned. So is this disposition okay or still idolatry? I don't have any disposition of thinking something's God, as Perkins said. It's when you are honoring them as if you're honoring God. But my disposition is not that they are God, it's that they are servants of God. Then what? Is it still religious? Is it still idolatry? How is that any different to honoring my mother? So if I honor my mother in an image, or even someone that I don't have such an attachment to, my great grandmother in an image, because she was a religious figure, how is that not idolatry? But honoring a saint is idolatry in an image. This distinction, I think it's very arbitrary. For example, even a tombstone. Many people physically venerate tombstones by performing acts like kissing it. They clean it, which is a physical action that is expressing some sort of veneration. They place flowers, etc. They even maybe carve images on the tombstone to honor them. So if someone did this to a family member, is it idolatrous? You're really going to argue that kissing a tombstone is idolatrous. Why? But when they kiss relics, or when they kiss saints' tombstones, like for example Jerome kissed or Jerome advocating for kissing tombstone of martyrs, that's idolatrous. So really, what is the difference between a family member's tombstone kissing it and a religious person's tombstone kissing it? what is the difference? Okay. So the dilemma. The dilemma. Either honoring images of my mother is idolatry, or honoring images of saints is not idolatry. So I think taking a distinction like this is very unless you find a way a distinction that it cracks through both of the civil versus religious. It makes a sharp crack through it, separating them both. I think you're either on the complete iconoclast side or the complete iconodulia side, meaning you can't honor any images even of your mother if you're an iconoclast, or you concede to the iconodulia position where images of saints is not idolatry, because it is just an image of a saint, like it's not some sort of image of God or anything. So yeah, my conclusive thoughts is, if honoring a picture of my deceased religious parent is not idolatry, then why on earth is honoring a picture of a deceased religious person a saint idolatry? So if there's a sharp distinction between them, please show me. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Please, anybody comment. I would love someone to actually engage with this, because this is kind of like the cornerstone of Reformed iconoclasm. It's the way they answer every single type of religious honor given in the Bible, or just honor given in the Bible. They say civil versus religious, civil versus religious. But I don't even see a precedent for that in the Bible, first of all. And I don't even see how you can classify something as civil or something as religious. I really don't I don't see how. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching, and God bless.